One of my coming up soon projects is to get rid of this sea hood, which I think has outlived its usefulness. Probably looked really good when it was brand new. It had fresh paint on it, but I think this boat deserves to have teak or something similar sea hood that matches the rest of the trim. So I took some measurements and I'll see if I can work something up in my shop. So I've decided to go with a wood called Iroko, I-R-O-K-O, I think that's how it's pronounced, which is a teak substitute. Has a similar grain, similar color. It's a tropical wood, so it's also good for outdoor, but I guess it's a little more sustainable, environmentally friendly. So I'm going to be ripping this into a little over 1.5-inch wide strips and then gluing them together with a slight bevel so they create a gentle arch. I feel like an arch on the sea hood not only would look prettier but also shed water more easily. Well, here's all the strips. This is about the right width. I may have to add one or two more on. We'll see. It'll lose some width once it's arched. So the next step here is to flatten one face of all these, run them through the planer so they're nice and straight, straighten up one edge, run them through the table saw again so they're straight in that direction, and put the bevel on. So I have finished milling all of these slats down to 3/4 of an inch and put a 1/2 degree bevel on two sides of each one, and then I've started gluing them up into pairs here just to start with to make them more manageable, and made this sort of I don't know, gluing jig, I guess, which has the curvature that I want for the sea hood. So as I glue these up, it helps align them in the right angle to each other. Okay, so here I have started gluing up the larger pieces. It starts with 2 slats glued together, and then 2 pairs of those make 4 slats glued together, and now I have pieces of 8 glued together. And next I will straighten this joint between them and glue up this batch of 16, which is getting pretty close to the full width, especially once I put that on like that. So far it's actually adhering to the arc I had planned. Looks like 1/2 degree was the bevel needed on each side to get this arc to be correct. All right, I have the full width of the sea hood glued up now in a gentle arch. Looks pretty good. And I think the next step now is I'm going to make some lines across the surface in kind of a grid. And then sand it acrossways with the arch until I see all the lines disappear. Where there's lines remaining means there's a low spot. So I think if I do that several times and feel with my hands carefully, I can get this nice and smooth. And then I think the next step is I'm going to glue 2 sort of cross members underneath to provide some support, because this is something that somebody might step on the cabin top. And then the finishing touch will be to put sort of a cap on each end. Oh, it's getting there. Okay, so here you can see I have glued the 2 cross members on the underside to provide some support and stiffness to the curve of the C-hood. And now here I've straightened up the one edge of the C-hood and have just glued on the cap, which goes on this one side, and shortly after this I glued on the cap on the other side as well. And finally I begin applying multiple coats of clear epoxy to this. The grain just looks stunning. I'm really excited with how this is turning out. All right, trying to remove the old C-hood or turtle. It's kind of like fiberglass, a thin layer over some plywood, and we're starting to discover where all the screws are. And I think I'm ready to take these screws out and see if this whole thing will lift off. Well, got the new C-hood installed. Wasn't hard to look better than the disintegrating plywood contraption that was there before. Now this is just coated with epoxy, so now I have to put a couple more coats of that on and then start varnishing. Also, these rails underneath are teak and should look pretty good after they get sanded, and then they'll hopefully blend right in with the new hood. Okay, unfortunately I did not get any video or photos of this, but since that last video was taken, I did get those rails sanded down and epoxied, and started to fair them into the sides of the C-hood, and it's all looking really, really good. I'll try and post a picture of the final product, maybe the next video.